Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome indeed. So today I want to do a review of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel and basically criticize the game on things that it really needs to improve upon. So first off, in terms of like the progression of this game, because I know a lot of people wanted this video out a lot earlier, but I really feel like now I have a really good understanding of the game. I've completed all 100 tiers of the entire Battle Pass. I have reached the highest rank that you can get in the game, which is rank 1 in a Platinum, and basically built whatever I wanted to play. Now, in terms of the gameplay, because I think a lot of people actually just want to see the gameplay of the game, so I want to roll some gameplay and kind of talk a little bit about different features that this game does offer, as there's lots of different Yu-Gi-Oh! Games. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creator. I know that there are people doing video reviews on this game that are basically just checking out the game for the first time, as in like they haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh! in many years, and it shows when they're playing like whatever deck that they're playing, because it's not considered a meta deck. A meta deck meaning that it's going to be more than likely a deck that it does not let the other player play. The whole goal is to basically either stun your opponent or make a combo so good that your opponent can't really play anyways, because you just stop every single play that they do. That's how modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Generally is in the competitive scene when you want to rank up. Like in the first few duels, yeah, I played against Blue Eyes and Toons, but like as you climb higher in the ranks, you will not see any of those fan favorite Dark Magician kind of cards for the most part. But in terms of the game, what does it do that other Yu-Gi-Oh! Games didn't offer in the past? Well, in terms of graphics, this game can go up to 4K, which is kind of nice. I'm not really too fond of that. Like, that's not like a huge selling point for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game versus like, let's say, like a first-person shooter or another game where graphics actually, matters. But I can see it's just a point that they just brought up, as in like, that is something new. In terms of the gameplay, the game is relatively slow. So what I mean by that is that if you've played on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro or a lot of other fan-made Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, they're way faster, and they're going to be much better for competitive players anyways, because I turn off the animations. When I summon a card, I don't need the big flashy animation, the card pops out. I don't really care about that. That's more for casual players than competitive players at the end of the day anyways. However, the music in this is really good in the game. I will give them credit on the music. I like the music in this. I like the music in 5D's Decade Duels for the like 360 back in the day. I also really liked the music in Link Evolution. I thought all of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Games actually have pretty good music, but this one, it definitely does stick out, especially like right now, that's what we're listening to in the background. So I would say that that is good. The main concern with this game right now is the bugs. There are lots of bugs, specifically with even popular cards like Max C, where you're not able to draw off of certain effects. There's also a bug, they even put it in the most recent patch notes, where you were unable to stop Imperial Orders from certain cards when you would stop Imperial Order, which is huge. Like, these kind of bugs really affect the gameplay, and there are tons of bugs in this game, and it's kind of weird that like the fan-made Yu-Gi-Oh! Games are actually better in terms of like the bugs and interactions with very specific cards. But keep in mind, there's so many Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that there are just weird interactions with the game, and some of the things would actually cause the game to internally loop infinitely, so they're considered illegal moves in the game, because the AI will just break in the game because it doesn't know what to do when you start looping certain things forever, because the game will be in a locked state. But that's not really going to be for competitive play. Like, there are, again, some things in actual competitive play where if you stop Imperial Order, it should actually be stopped with Imperm, but they actually mentioned this in the patch notes. They are fixing these bugs, which is a good thing. I mean, they are working on it, but for the most part, you'll see a lot of times, what's really frustrating for some people is like, in some of the more advanced Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, you can hold down a button when you would want to change something, right? And in this game, it's different. Like, if you have Max C in your hand, literally every second, it's like, do you want to activate Max C? Okay, no, okay. Do you want to activate Max C? Every single 0.01 second, it asks you these things, and it is kind of annoying, versus in the other Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, you could literally just make it so you don't respond to anything, hold down a key, and then when you want to respond, you can have access to it. So it's just much better for those reasons. Also, like, in terms of who is this game for, because I wondered that myself when I was actually playing this game, because it's definitely not for casuals, because if the casual player hops on, builds a Dark Magician Blue Eyes deck, goes and only plays the ranked best of one, which is another problem in the game, you're just going to get absolutely obliterated, and you're going to be like, okay, I'm probably not going to be playing this game for too long. That's why there's a huge surge of newer players that hop into Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh, I played that game as a kid, it's a free download, whatever, hop in, play it, and then after you get absolutely destroyed by a meta deck, a lot of players won't really want to come back. So I could see it not really being for like a casual audience, but then in the competitive audience, which you might be thinking, okay, if it's not for casuals, is it for competitive? You're playing in the best of one, you got no side deck, the ban list is absolutely whack compared to the TCG, like, I understand different regions have different rules for the game, and that's just something in Yu-Gi-Oh, which is a really weird system. There's also tons of cards that aren't added into this game. It just doesn't really make sense why this game exists for casual or competitive. It's actually kind of designed for an in-between, which is okay for some people, but I just think at the end of the day, it didn't really pick a niche. If it wanted to be casual, go casual. If it wants to be competitive, go competitive. But again, they took this middle ground in the best of one when there's certain decks where it's like if they go first, they automatically win. There's no game two, you don't really get a chance, and you just feel like you got kind of cheated out on. But that's just kind of how Yu-Gi-Oh is, and again, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, that's just the way the game is played. Now I want to show off some of the other features in the game that are kind of cool. Now I've showed you guys some gameplay because I know some people are looking at this from a standpoint of like, I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh in a while. What does the game actually look like? So what is really nice is there's also a campaign mode for the game where you can actually play solo. Now most of these, I've been doing some of these. In terms of popularity, it seems like a lot of you guys don't really care too much about this, but it is a way for you guys to earn currency. So the game is definitely free to play friendly for at least one deck. If you look at some of the login rewards over the course of a long period of time, like you'll see that on this account we got a bunch of different gems. It's probably going to encourage people to make multiple accounts because if you ever played Dueling, sometimes you can only like really build like one deck as a free-to-play player, and then people just make new accounts because like as time goes on they ban cards, and therefore you can't use the cards that you actually wanted to use or had purchased before. So it's kind of unfortunate, but you'll see that like as you start going further later down the lines, like you'll get different rewards for like logging in and things like that, but a lot of the things are for like your first time, so that's why we're like saving up the gems. In terms of like the price point, it's about $2 per pack if you wanted to actually go to the shop and like buy it. I'm trying to stay free to play over here just so like if I beat someone or if I upload content, people can't say, hey, you just paid to win. There isn't really paid to win, especially for your very first Yu-Gi-Oh deck, but one thing that this game does offer that it is really good is the ability to craft whatever card that you need. You can just go and use your crafting material. You can disenchant other cards. You see if I dismantle this I get 10, and if I want to craft it, it costs 30. So basically it's a 3-to-1 ratio. If I disenchant 3 copies of the same rarity, it goes basically how it works is common, rare, super rare, and ultra rare. And for like normal, I guess is what they're calling the rarity. I think C would have made more sense, but nonetheless, that's the rarity. You can see I have tons and tons of points for most of them except for the ultra rare. But the super rare ones, I could disenchant a lot of other things. I just kind of wanted to rush and build my deck and wanted to stick with that deck. But if you want to build lots and lots of decks in the game, unfortunately you would probably need to spend some money, as a lot of decks will require ultra rares that may not cross over, as in like for example some cards you can play in any decks that are ultra rare, and some cards they're very specific to, let's say, one archetype that you need it for. But for the most part it is very, very fair, again, for your very first deck, maybe your second deck as well, but to build like more than 3 decks, it's going to take either an insane amount of grinding or you're gonna have to actually spend some money. Now I want to show off some of the campaign because I do happen to have some of the campaign over here, just like what it looks like for in terms of the campaign, because some people, they don't really want to play against other people. They're just like, you know, the modern Yu-Gi-Oh game, and this is a very common thing in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like modern Yu-Gi-Oh is just so harsh on a beginner player because they're just stopping everything that I'm doing. The campaign is basically a Microsoft PowerPoint with little like card animations that go on. If you're looking for like a campaign that would basically show you how to play the deck, it kind of shows you, but it kind of just throws you out over there. It tells you what cards to place, but they're teaching you archetypes that are pretty much outdated. Like realistically, our Element Saber is going to be a deck that will get you to platinum and like the highest rank? More than likely not, because it's just not that great of a deck. They're showing you like old school macro monarchs, which is, it's kind of cool for like, you know, old school players, but they really need to be showing you guys basically the S tier decks if they want people to be able to like go through the campaign, learn, get good, and then play. That would be a much better idea. There are other things to customize your profile in the shop. You can actually get few different things. You actually can acquire these things by just playing the game as well. You don't have to spend money. So you can get these little icons by just completing the campaigns. You have icon frames. This is for like the ranked. And then you can also change like your title. You can also change this thing called a mate. It's basically a little like animated figure on the field that doesn't actually affect gameplay at all. Then you can change your monster art, which is your little background on your card in your little profile over here. Like I have the Shadal construct over here. It's just cool little extra things that add extra microtransactions to the game, but don't actually affect gameplay. And you could buy all of these with gems. You'll get daily login gems. It feels very like free to play friendly, at least again at the start. For those of you guys wondering, you also have the ability to spectate duels, you have the ability to buy gems, and there's also these things called selection packs. So when you go to the shop, it's kind of an interesting way that they have this set up. So how it works is you actually buy a pack, you get a card from a certain set or archetype, and you'll be able to open up more of those, and they will rotate, and you only have 24 hours, so they do the fear on missing out microtransaction incentive to basically you get the pack, and then you get the archetype that you want's pack, and then you just try to get as many packs as possible within 24 hours. Otherwise, that pack goes away. It's a really weird system. I don't really like it. I wish it was just like, okay, you unlock the pack, you unlock it permanently, or they have all the packs, and you just simply choose your pack. Now, since I am a Yu-Gi-Oh content creator, I want to also mention, like, what does this game offer that, like, other Yu-Gi-Oh games may not offer? So this is, I have a customized background over here, but this is something called YuGiOh Pro. A lot of you guys are probably very familiar with it, but this game is way better for the competitive scene on Yu-Gi-Oh. You have access to literally every single Yu-Gi-Oh card you can imagine. You don't have to unlock it. Everything is free. Literally, when they announce a new Yu-Gi-Oh card, it's implemented within a few hours into this game. This game over here, the Master Duel, it's already outdated. It's using a older ban list. It's using a weirder ban list too. And on top of that, you have a bunch of cards that aren't even out yet that have been out in the actual Yu-Gi-Oh game. And that's why it's so weird. I just wish that there was an official Yu-Gi-Oh game that would keep up to date with the current ban list, and they would always update it on the spot when they announce newer cards. That's why I like a lot of the fan games a lot more. And on top of that, there is no side deck in Master Duel. If I go to the deck over here, it is only the best of one. This is like Yugi's deck over here, but there's just the extra deck, that's it. There's no side decking. So again, for competitive tournament play, that's where this game falls short for the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player. But again, the casual Yu-Gi-Oh player is going to be taking Yugi's deck and get absolutely obliterated by Drytron, especially when there's like triple copies of Ben 10, which is actually only at 1 in the actual modern Yu-Gi-Oh game because the ban list is different. It's a really weird system they decided to set up for this game. But in terms of like the graphics, and let me actually just have some gameplay while I go ahead and like rant about other subject matters in this game. So a lot of games you'll see, even at the lower ranks, like this is like silver over here, a lot of the games will make it so one player doesn't really get to play the game, and this is going to be one of those games where like one of the player doesn't really get to play. I'm just playing like a dinosaur deck. There's lots of different decks. Drytron is like a really big one a lot of people play that will basically have the same combo of stop every single thing that your opponent does. So I also was thinking about like asking the Yu-Gi-Oh community, like, what did you guys think about this game? And I want to bring that up too, because there are basically concerns about this game in terms of its longevity, because a lot of these Yu-Gi-Oh games, what happens is they just simply stop supporting it. They just don't update the ban list, they don't put out new cards, and that's the biggest concern that I have, especially if you want to spend money on a game. You don't want all your cards to become obsolete, and then you have to rebuy the game, like a newer game, if they come out with like a newer Yu-Gi-Oh game. And I want to bring up some numbers and stats just because this game is hot right now, and I get it, a lot of content creators are just slamming down a bunch of Master Duel content, and some of the like more, I guess, core Yu-Gi-Oh audience, the serious Yu-Gi-Oh players that don't really care about the fancy animations and that kind of stuff, they're like, dude, I'm tired of seeing Master Duel, and I totally get it. And I want to talk a little bit more about stats right now, as I'm going to go ahead and bring up some like numbers and stuff like that. So this is what I wanted to bring up. The previous Yu-Gi-Oh game that was like the big Yu-Gi-Oh game was actually called Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution. I think in terms of a Yu-Gi-Oh game, because this one right now is free to play, it's a completely different like ballpark in terms of the numbers. I mean, look at this. This game is great too. I streamed it. This game is awesome. Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution. This is a website called Steam Charts, by the way. It shows you the stats of the how many players are actually playing on the game via using Steam. We had an all-time peak of 1,219. Now look at the Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Completely different numbers. 262,000 at its all-time peak. That is enormous for a Yu-Gi-Oh game. Now the real question that I want to actually bring up to this video as well is, how many players do you think will actually stick around with this game? Because in terms of being honest, most Yu-Gi-Oh players, they're hyped up, they play the game, and then as time goes on, they either don't update the game in terms of the ban list. The bugs are something that I hope that they will fix all of the bugs, because that's a big thing, because the unofficial Yu-Gi-Oh games have the official like good rulings for these cards and don't have these bugs. and those are all free, and you get all of the cards. Like, there's no incentive to play Master Duel other than literally it's because it's an official game and it's hot at the moment. But as time progresses, we'll see where this game goes, but I want to say a lot of the people will not stick around because they are going to get absolutely bodied, and then the competitive serious players are going to be like, well, there's no side deck, they're not updating the ban list, I'm out too. So they gotta update this game. That's one of the things that I'm kind of curious about. Now, in terms of Twitch, YuGiOh, like, I stream YuGiOh all the time on Twitch, and I also play lots of Fortnite and stuff. If you guys want to follow me, it's in the description. But YuGiOh generally isn't going to be a game that's like at the top tier in terms of like the popularity. If one big streamer is not streaming YuGiOh, like a big content creator, the game generally doesn't have that many views, and that's okay. I still play it regardless. I play a lot of dead games all the time. It doesn't matter. If I enjoy it, I enjoy it. Master Duel is actually doing really good, and this is kind of something that a lot of people have been mentioning as well, is basically the longevity of this game. This guy actually put up a really good comment over here. Let me actually go to it. They're saying that they don't like what Master Duel has done for the community because Ignis, which is EDO Pro, which is the application that a lot of us like YuGiOh players that have been OGs, been playing for a long time, that or like Dueling Network, Dueling Book, those applications are just so much better. And I don't blame the core YuGiOh audience for kind of not liking Master Duel because it is a different game. It's not necessarily for like super casual, and it's not necessarily for super like pro hardcore YuGiOh players. Again, it's like this middle ground, and that's okay too. I think that that can definitely be something that is going to find like a niche audience for. And you can read the comments over here, but this was a really good post over by Hardlay Gaming. He basically just said like the popularity of Master Duel is just way too big. Why would I go back to this game at the moment? And I get it as a content creator. I also asked you guys in a poll what you guys thought about the game. We had about 2.6k votes over here, and I basically said, what would you give it out of a like 5 score, like 1 being like terrible, 5 being the best? And this is what you guys posted over here. A lot of you guys posted 4 out of 5, 3 out of 5. Those are the most popular ones. The rest are like a very small amount. But the thing that is like the most, I guess, upvoted comment over here is the ban list is an old OCG list from about 3 formats ago, and they don't even have an option for 2 out of 3 ranked matches. That's the best thing that this game really could add. I don't know why in the duel mode there isn't like a casual, competitive, or all these different ban lists. That is something I think that they want to add, but it really needs to be added immediately. How hard is it to add a different ban list? We've had this feature for so long. Look at all these different formats that I can play in, and even on Dueling Network, this has existed for a long time. It's not that hard to implement it in an official game. Why do we have it in all like the fan-made games instantly? But like, yeah, the solo mode seems that the AI is OP too, and I get that. Like, if you've played the one where it's like the Gem Knight ones, you know the AI is insane. But for the most part, a lot of people talking about the coin flip mechanics. It's just coming down to like who wins, like to get to go first, and that's an issue with YuGiOh that they actually kind of address by not letting the person that goes first draw an extra card later down the line. But we should have all of these different rules for the game. Oh, well, I guess the game shut down again. The game, it's having a little bit of issues, but for the most part, I think that hopefully we can just relog in. Okay, there we go. In terms of the missions, they actually encourage you to do a lot of different things. Specifically, there are things where it's like banish a bunch of cards, activate a trap card. Like, look at this, activate a trap card in a ranked duel. I am the highest rank in the game, and I've used 0 traps in the game. The only trap that I would even consider is Infinite Impermanence, which is not even like a real trap card. It's more like a hand trap card. So basically, they don't really allow you to build a bunch of different decks. Like the free-to-play games that are made by the fans will give you all the cards and access to everything and have a much better competitive scene if that's what you want. And the thing that is so cool, and this is not like a sponsored video or anything, but in terms of the fan-made games, you have a casual and a competitive server, so you can select what you want to do. In this, you just go to Duel, and like, again, a beginner player is going to get absolutely destroyed. And then they're going to be like, dude, I can't even play, I'm out. And I think that that's something that they really should address. They should have some sort of casual or competitive way to play. You should do best of 3. You should have a side deck. That's what we are used to for hardcore YuGiOh audiences. Because again, if you're not catering towards the casuals and you're not catering towards the the competitive, there is like a niche for that, but I don't know if maybe that's the best way. Why not just support all of them? Have the casuals, have the competitive, have the people that are in between. Let us have all of the things. That's why I'm really kind of curious. The whole like interface sometimes feels a little bit laggy too, but hopefully that can be addressed in the future with optimization. But anyways, that's going to be kind of my review on the game. If you're wondering like in a number value, what would you give it out of like a 5 or a 10? Like if we're giving like 5 being the best score and 1 being the worst score, I would say it's about a 3 or a 4 out of 5 for me personally. The biggest thing is the bugs that exist in the game. If they can fix all the bugs with the cards, specifically maxing needs to be addressed, because again, some of the card interactions will not let you draw. It could be probably like a decent 4 game for just a overall game. Like if I'm a hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh player, I want a side deck, I'd probably give it like a 3. That is a huge thing. And the ban list, what is this? Like we play in the TCG, although with the newest ban list, I'm actually okay with this game's ban list because I'm not a fan of like triple skill drain, but this one has triple skill drain anyway, so it's just kind of weird. But anyways, those are my thoughts. I would say if you are interested in the Yu-Gi-Oh game, you can definitely give this game a shot and have some fun because it is a free-to-play game and play against AI. But if you want to play against real players and you're not like a veteran Yu-Gi-Oh player, you will get absolutely dominated and you'll just be like, what the heck did I walk into? So just keep that in the mind, in the back of your head. I would really recommend any of you guys that do want to play a Yu-Gi-Oh game, and if you really like campaigns, definitely check out Legacy of the Duelist Link Evolution. It's not free though, just as a heads up, but it has a way better campaign. You get to understand the stories, you get to use a deck that they use in the anime versus another anime deck. It's way cooler, and I think that if you want a single player Yu-Gi-Oh experience, definitely check that one out. But this one is primarily going to be a multiplayer experience because the campaign's like it's kind of like a PowerPoint presentation. But anyways, those are my thoughts. You guys can let me know yours down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit subscribe, turn on the bell if you want to see more Master Duel content in the future, as we'll definitely upload more. And I'm really curious to see where this game goes in the future as well, because of, you know, I really want to know what the number will look like in like just basically 2 or 3 weeks. We'll see how this number drops if they don't update the game, because they really need to do that. Anyways, take care. I'll catch you next one. Peace.